Well, by my clock in Cardiff, it's 2 o'clock, so I think it's time we made a start. Let me introduce myself. My name is Hugh Lloyd. I'm a business account manager based in the RAP Cardiff office. Enw fi yw Hugh Lloyd, a fi yn gweithio yn y swyddfa yn Caerdydd, a fi'n gweithio fel rheolwr cyfrif busnes, as I said. So I've been in RAP now for about 12 years. So first, can I just thank you for joining us today to discuss the consultation documentation that we are undertaking on behalf of the Welsh Government. That looks towards a universal culture of repair and reuse in Wales. Felly, diolch am ofyn maen ni heddiw drafod gofyn ymgynghori rydym yn ei cynnal ar ran Llywodraeth Cymru sef tuag at diwylliant Cyffredinol o Atgyweirio a Ailddefnyddio yng Nghymru. Now, there's one thing I should explain at this point, is that although we are conducting the consultation on behalf of Welsh Government, we are not in a position to answer on their behalf. Our role is to collect views, questions, challenges and solutions for Welsh Government and others to consider as part of this route map. Yn bod yn cynnal ymgynghoriad ar ran Llywodraeth Cymru, ni ddim mewn sefyllfa I ateb dros nhw. Ein rôl ni yw casglu safbwyntiau, cwestiynau, heriau ac atebion I Llywodraeth Cymru ac eraill ei ystyried fel map, rhan o'r map llwybr yma. So, as I said, what we're doing is to really gather information today. I'm joined by my colleague Ellie. So, Ellie, if you could go to the next slide, please. So, yes, that's me on the right-hand side. So, Ellie is going to be leading the presentation today. So, if you just flip to the next slide, please, Ellie. So all we have to do is just make sure that you update your Zoom name so we know who is speaking to and who is asking the questions. There will be a specific period in the presentation where we can address questions and answers. And if you could use the chat function for that. Ni yn derbyn cwestiynau yn Gymraeg hefyd, felly byddwch yn dda ar y chat. A byddwch yn ei wedyn yw ateb nhw ar y pryd, neu o'n i'n meddwl hela cyflwyniad allan a just ymuno yn yr e-bost na a bydd e'n cynnig fan. If you could go to the next slide, please. So, fel ni'n gweud, ni'n gallu cael e'n ddwyieithog. Allwn ni cael e'n Gymraeg neu'n Saesneg. Felly, dim ond rhaid cwestiynau yn chat a bydd ni'n gallu ymateb I hwnna. So, as I said, we will be hosting the questions bilingually. So, if you do have questions in Welsh or in English, if you put them in the chat box, then they will be sent out with the slides when the slideshow is complete. So, with no more ado, I shall hand over to my colleague, Ellie.
Thank you, Hugh. So, my name is Ellie Trotman and I'm an analyst here at RAP. I have been largely involved in the route map project, being involved in all elements of the research, including the writing, the development of the actual route map, designing the summary document, and writing the consultation questions themselves. I'll also be working on the actual analysis of the consultation. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for sparing the time today to come to this webinar. And the overall aim of today's session is to raise awareness of the route map and the consultation, ultimately encouraging you all to participate and share the consultation with your network. So as an analyst, my job consists of asking lots of questions and hopefully finding some answers. I have tried to apply that same logic to the structure of this webinar, with the hopes that I'll be able to answer all of the following questions and then any that you may have. So by the end of the webinar, participants will know what is the route map, why we're doing a consultation on the route map, where is the route map and how to answer and share the consultation, and who are we asking to answer the consultation. So what is the repair and reuse route map? The Beyond Recycling strategy aims to shift towards a universal culture of reuse, repair and remanufacture within communities and town centres. As part of this, Welsh Government have committed to develop 80 repair and reuse hubs in town centres and aim to promote these facilities to encourage zero-waste shopping. In 2023, RAP were commissioned to research and produce a route map of necessary and actionable steps needed in this transition to a universal culture of repair and reuse by 2050. Several other projects were undertaken at this time that would feed into the route map, such as analysis of service provision and skill gaps in the repair and reuse sector, as well as looking at digital solutions across Wales. Stakeholders were engaged along all of these projects. So the journey so far, the research phase of the project consisted of a literature review, collation of internal expertise and reports, as well as engagement with stakeholders through one-to-one interviews and a stakeholder engagement workshop that occurred last November. So I just want to highlight some high-level findings. Case studies were few and far between and often focused on small to medium voluntary enterprises. There is little empirical evidence, particularly on the cost benefit analysis side of repair and reuse, and they often focused on the kind of next steps or socioeconomic issues. We often found that campaigns about repair and reuse weren't maybe as inclusive as we hoped they would be, and that R&R efforts are strongly linked to the voluntary, community and social enterprise sector. As many of you may know, that finding financial sustainability within repair and reuse, particularly the voluntary sector, is still a huge challenge. So we did find lots of great ideas and great learnings, but not many of these were achieved on a massive nationwide scale as we're hoping to achieve. In Wales specifically, there is a service provision gap of repair across the country, and there is a smaller gap of reuse, particularly in rural areas. We do know that there is a huge appetite for repair and reuse in Wales. So one of our tracker surveys found that 33% have recently purchased second-hand goods, 60% are open to buying pre-loved, and 67% of people in Wales are yet to engage in buying second-hand items. So there is great potential for growth. Before we move on to the next point, I just want to look and see if there's any particular questions. I'm just going to go and look in the screen. Zero waste shopping, how Welsh Government defining zero waste shopping. I can't tell you off the top of my head, again, don't speak for Welsh Government, but I'm sure that they address that within the Beyond Recycling document. Are there any other questions? And how is Welsh Government now defining 80 repair and reuse hubs in town centres? That is, again, from their Beyond, no, that's from the their strategy on repair and reuse. Again, I can come back to you on that, particularly. Again, I'd just like to say that Welsh Government, we're not speaking on behalf of their definitions. But I will make a note of that and come back to you, Ella. So if it's all right, great. If it's all right, I'm going to move on to the next step, which is talking about the route map. So the route map itself lays out 7 category and 17 action groups, and where kind of discusses where those areas will contribute to the definition of a universal culture of repair and reuse in Wales. This is a big table that I'm not going to go through in this presentation. We will send you the presentation after the webinar, so you can go through this yourself. There are links for you to access. What I will briefly discuss is the 7 categories on the left-hand side, which are set up for success, raise awareness and communicate benefits, public sector leadership, increasing coverage and accessibility, partnerships for collaboration, repair and reuse as the driver of circular business, and lifelong learning for repair and reuse. The report itself, so this is the summary document that you're going to be asked to consult on, looks at the background and context of the project, defines what a universal culture of repair and reuse looks like in practice based on a definition given to us from Welsh Government. It explores the current attitudes, opportunities and barriers, looks at what repair and reuse might look like in the future, and suggests mechanisms for adaptation of initiatives. So set up for success. So we identified two main actions that would be the foundation for other actions in the route map. These are setting up accountability mechanisms that will set targets and measure progress that will ensure transparency, as well as a digital support mechanism. So having some kind of internet-based platform to centralise all information related to Welsh repair and reuse. Raising awareness and communicating benefits. So we need to arm and empower citizens with knowledge and awareness. From our research, we do know that citizens are already aware about reuse and repair practices, but they might not be aware of the benefits that might motivate them to take action. So we need to make sure that our campaigns and awareness campaigns communicate the economic, social, and environmental benefits in any of the campaigns. So, for example, in Wales, if repair and reuse practices were increased by about 25%, an estimated 27,705 jobs would be created in the circular economy. So, public sector leadership. Wales is proudly ranked second in the world for recycling, and that came about from proper infrastructure, education, procurement practices, and legislation. We want to explore how we can take those same steps, but with repair and reuse as the focus. This includes encouraging cultures of repair and reuse in education, looking at the legislative opportunities such as the right to repair, and look at public sector procurement. Accessibility has to be the heart of any initiative that ensures everyone can be involved and that nobody is left behind. We need to be looking at things like the location, the availability of services, making sure that the repair and reuse practices are the desirable option. There is not a definition of accessibility within legislation, but we do propose that for services to be deemed accessible, they should adhere to accessibility requirements outlined in the Equality Act of 2010. So partnerships for collaboration. Collaboration is key in any culture. It ensures that everyone has a role, everyone is accountable in that role, that everyone will learn from each other, build trust, and a common language of repair and reuse. The private sector has a pivotal role in the circular economy. And by altering your business models to shift from selling goods only to providing repair and reuse services, you can help prolong the life of existing resources. This will be key in cultural shifts, both in design approaches and consumer behaviour. And finally, lifelong skills and development. I cannot stress the importance of education enough in cultural shifts. We want to see repair and reuse skills and knowledge being taught to children in primary schools, all the way through secondary and tertiary education, with opportunities for continuous upskilling throughout careers. We want to encourage apprenticeships that focus on repair and reuse, with tailored opportunities for marginalised groups, bringing it back always to accessibility. And I'm going to take some more questions. In the circular economy, reverse logistics seem to be a big challenge, including sorting and grading products for redistribution, whether for resale, recycle, upcycle. Do I have any comments on this? At the moment, no. There are several other projects that are going off now within RAP that we will be looking at something like reverse logistics. We'll be looking at how do we potentially redistribute things from entering the waste cycle, the waste stream, sorry. So trying to divert things from landfill. So that's a current project that hopefully will be published later next year. So at the moment, I can't comment on that. Still in the early stages. I hope that answers your question. The other one, can I talk about the metrics and KPIs? Again, that is a project that is currently happening. It's the same, or it's the same body of work that we're talking about with the project looking at diverting items going to landfill via repair and reuse mechanisms. I think there's a little bit more information in the actual consultation document. But again, I think what we're trying to do is with the consultation that if you have any ideas, please come to us either via email or through the consultation and suggest your great ideas, because we will take all of those on board. How much engagement have we had with the private sector? We did go out to several private sector businesses that we know are interested in repair and reuse that we've had contact with via one-to-one stakeholder engagement, and we also invited several bodies to our stakeholder workshops. Some of our projects, so for example, the repair analysis, the skills and service provision gap analysis, the private repair sector was out of scope for that project, so it primarily focused on the voluntary charity and social enterprise. So we have in terms of the interviews and workshops, but in other projects they were out of scope. And what role the local authorities take, that is not for necessarily RAP to speak on. That is something that I think the local authorities, they are being asked to consult on this as well. And it's going to be a collaborative process of understanding and working towards that together and defining that role. If it's future-proofing projects for staff costs, government is an issue for sustainability projects, especially with LA budget constraints. Will there be more funding to support projects to ensure longevity? Apologies, again, I know this may seem like a cop-out answer, that's not for RAP to speak on, but we do know this is an issue, government do know this is an issue. What I will ask is that you bring these issues to the consultation and all of these answers can be analysed and taken together. So initial reading of the consultation indicates the idea of embedding repair and reuse as commonplace, relies on the third sector. Would you agree? And if so, is the intention that third sector needs to work with business and local authorities? The research that we've done has shown that a lot of responsibility is on the voluntary sector, absolutely. While that's great and we see those efforts, we also recognise that no one body should be responsible for such a cultural shift. So yes, we are absolutely, our roadmap suggests that collaboration between the public sector, private sector, voluntary sector, they all come together, because that's really what culture is. Everybody gets involved. So if it's all right, I'm going to move on to the next section, which is actually talking about the consultation itself. So why is there a consultation on the repair and reuse route map? Ultimately, it's to ensure that the voices of Welsh repair and reuse sector, Welsh businesses and Welsh residents are heard and included in the transition to a universal culture of repair, reuse and remanufacture. So why do we need all of you? It's because, like I said, a culture is not universal unless people all feel a part of it. In the face of environmental and resource challenges, repair and reuse practices need to be the first thought on everyone's minds. This means everyone needs to feel involved and know that their views count. So over to you. If you support the route map, there will be an opportunity for you to showcase this on our website, as well as showcase the great work that you're doing that's leading the way. There will be more on this in the coming weeks, which will be communicated via email or on our social media as well. So how is the consultation taking place? The consultation, RAP is holding an online survey on SurveyMonkey on behalf of Welsh Government. This will be open for 12 weeks, so it is already open. I cannot remember the exact date that it opened, and the closing date is Sunday, the 20th of October. Where is the consultation? it is on our website. I will have the links in the chat. I think the links are going to be sent into the chat now. The links will also be on the next slide, so that when you get this presentation pack, that you can click on those links. We ask that you read the summary report and then answer the consultation survey. These are the links. You can take the survey online, or you can also download the questions and fill it in like a PDF, and then email it to a lovely senior analyst, Anna Pitt, with the subject line Route Map Consultation. So how can you answer the consultation? By no means am I suggesting how you answer it, but I am in the middle of analysing another consultation, and I have seen some examples of really good practice, and I hope you'll understand what I mean as I go along. So there are a couple of things that we'd like you to keep in mind. First of all, please be specific. So provide clear and detailed feedback. Be relevant, please stick to the topic and the question asked. There is an opportunity for you at the end of the consultation survey to give any thoughts which may not be relevant to a particular question within the survey, but anything that you can think of, whether that's evidence, opportunities or barriers that you don't feel like we've highlighted. There's absolutely a space for that. Please be constructive, offering balanced opinions and actionable suggestions. Please avoid extremes in your opinions, and please be respectful. I have no doubt that everyone on this webinar will be respectful, but like I said, I am in the middle of analysing another consultation response. And for example, somebody might give a really, really great opinion, but as they may have included some swear words, we can't actually include their response or weight it as highly as others, just because it has some kind of vulgar implications. I know it might seem a bit rudimentary, but I do want to go into why some of these answers are a little bit more helpful as someone who's doing the analysis. I was going to do the quick exercise, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a couple of phrases, and I'm going to tell you whether they adhere to the good practice or whether they're not as good practice. So for example, I think this idea has potential because it will help me find the information I'm looking for in half the time. That is an example of good practice because it has a clear explanation of why this person has that opinion. This idea is terrible. I really hope that we don't see this throughout the consultation, but it's a lack of constructive feedback. So it's told me it's terrible, but it doesn't tell me why you think it's terrible. Everything is perfect, no changes needed. I would like to see this, but again, it is the same. It's no solution is perfect and there's no constructive feedback. This proposal is excellent, but may be expensive to carry out compared to others. This is a good idea of good practice because it gives me a balanced opinion. And lastly, this idea will work in cities, but not in rural locations. This is an excellent point, but it hasn't given me any evidence as to why it might not work. The power of because it cannot be overstated. Whether you agree or disagree with one of our proposals, we don't know whether these suggestions and ideas will work or not work, or whether they need improvement without fully understanding your viewpoint. And any evidence that you can provide is always appreciated. So who can answer the consultation? Everybody in Wales is the short answer. The consultation is open to Welsh residents, businesses, and organisations. And as well as sharing your views, we are hoping that you may share the consultation with your network. So you can share the link, you can share posts from our social media. So if you go into WRAP on LinkedIn, we have those posts and they will be scheduled regularly. And there will also be, I think it's like email snippets for you to send to any of your networks. So if you have like a weekly bulletin, monthly bulletin, please include the consultation within that. That would be really, really helpful. And so finally, any questions? I see there's a couple in the chat. And those are all about the reactions. Apologies for that. I didn't realise that we turned that off. Are we looking for responses from citizens or primarily practitioners? Everybody, absolutely everybody. No one group is given particular weighting, but as long as we have, like I said, evidence, examples, or an understanding of your position on the proposal, then yes, we're asking everybody in Wales, because that's the collaboration is essential in culture. Can we access the research that the numbers have been derived from in the route map? Yes, there are links, or at the end of the document, there's a bibliography. So anytime that a particular number has been referenced, we do provide the source from where those numbers came from. So they are within the route map. If there's anything in particular, you can. We're going to show our emails in a moment. So if there is anything particular that you want to ask, you can absolutely send us an email, and we can see what we can do. Are there any other questions? Well, if not, I suggest that we leave it there. And I will, like I said, my email address is ellie.trotman@rap.org.uk. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to email me and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. We will be sending the presentation as a PDF to everybody who attended. And I'll double check, we might be sending the recording as well. But yes, thank you very much.